really nice piece to have as depth. And I thought it would be that way coming into the season when you have a guy who's actually had big league success. And Daniel Lynch hasn't been good overall, but he's had success at the big league level. To have that guy as your depth is really big. I mean, that's different than what we've seen from this team in the past. And so that's nice to have. The depth, I think, will get better too. I guess we should see how Chris Bubich's recovery goes. But I think he will probably, my guess is he goes on a rehab assignment in the next 4 to 5 weeks, probably. And I think they're going to give him all 30 days that he needs. But I wouldn't be surprised he's back, early July, late June, sometime in that time frame. And then you've got some guys in the minors who could get called up. So the depth is getting there, but it's nice that Lynch is there right now.
No question about that, and Seth Lugo continues to be just fantastic and has finally started to strike some people out. And Brady Singer really looked great in their game the other day. I mean, I think that, some of the command issues, maybe, but he was keeping the ball down in the strike zone consistently. He was getting a few calls, I would say, but I thought it looked good. In addition to the results, which have been good so far, I thought it looked sustainable. He hasn't given up very many hits at all this year, keeping the ball in the park generally. This is encouraging.
It is, yeah. And Quatrero, I wrote it was after the game. I think it might have actually been on MLB radio yesterday when he has his weekly spot. But he talked about the stuff is back to 2022. Personally, I think I don't think it's quite as good as that, and the velocity is still down a mile per hour, 1.5 miles per hour. But the slider looks really good, and he doesn't have to have a great sinker for the slider to work. He has to have a good sinker for the slider to work, and it's been good. So if his stuff is back, he's trusting it more. He's getting that run that he usually gets on the sinker. I feel confident in Singer as the 3 or 4 starter. I don't want him to be the best second best starter or best starter or whatever. But in this rotation, at least right now, he doesn't have to be. And I think that's really big for him. And I think that's big for the Royals.
I think it's big for the Royals, too. And you mentioned that because you need starters, and their starting rotation has been healthy. So that's a good thing.
I mean, one freak injury. He got hit by a line drive. That's nothing.
Right. So MacArthur doesn't get the job done, but he's done the job. What is your, he wasn't the closer at the start of the year. What is your confidence level that he can be a solid closer for a contender if the Royals hope they are one?
Well, I mean, I thought coming into the season that he was actually better served as kind of the fireman. And I think that's what they tried to do, but Will Smith obviously couldn't hold the job down. And then where are you going? He's the option after Will Smith right now.
Right.
I really like James MacArthur. I think he's really good. He keeps the ball in the strike zone, generally keeps it in the park. I mean, yesterday notwithstanding, he can get a swing and miss. What I think is really interesting is he's been getting it up 96 miles per hour the last few times out. Yesterday, I think he topped out at 95, so maybe a little fatigue. I don't know. I guess he hasn't pitched in a couple of days, so maybe it actually helps him to pitch more. But if he's throwing 96, maybe up to 97 with his slider and his curve, I see no reason why he can't get outs in the 9th inning for a contender. These closers come out of nowhere sometimes.
Right. Yes, they absolutely do.
Yeah, and good on the Royals, by the way. There was I think it was Ann Rodgers wrote a great article about their process with acquiring MacArthur last season. Good on them for figuring it out, for identifying somebody who they think they can add something to or refine something on or whatever it is. I don't want to say fix because I think that's a little bit pejorative, but good on them for finding him and for making the adjustments necessary. And now he's turned into, I don't think he's quite elite yet because I think you need a little bit more time to be there, but the results have been elite. It's funny too, because I went back, I found a tweet that I sent last year when they acquired him, and it was, hey, James MacArthur feels like a guy the Rays acquire, and then next year he randomly has like a 1.5 ERA. And
nice.
I didn't think anything about it. I mean, I wasn't predicting it, but it just that's what it felt like. And I think it says a lot about the Royals' pitching development now that they're able to identify and make the adjustments.
Absolutely the case. So we've got a 3-game series against the Brewers, who've just year after year figure out a way to be good, yep. And take care of business, maybe win this series, and then the Angels stink, and they probably are looking around saying, "What the hell are we playing for here?" We don't have Trout now, and that's a 4-game series, so an opportunity week for the Royals.
It is, yeah. I mean, they're home against the Brewers. We'll see if they play tonight. I think that the weather's a little bit scary, so we'll see how that goes. Of course, it's a Cole Reagan start, so it has to have some rain involved in some way. But they miss Freddie Peralta also, which is beneficial to the Royals. The Brewers, they're hitting this season a little bit different from past years, and they're pitching still, even with all these injuries. But yeah, they're home. Get 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. Do it. Figure out a way to actually take a series against a good contending team. And I think people are going to feel really good because then they go into Anaheim, 22-16, facing a team that, like you said, has nothing to play for. Right. And by the way, if you want to talk about a bat, Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward's the hitting coach for
right.
for the Cardinals. Taylor Ward, the outfielder for the Angels, he's a target. I think he makes a lot of sense for the Royals, but maybe they can get a first-hand look at him and
right.
shut him down and then say, hey, come over here. And
change clubhouses, buddy.
Yeah, yep, on the way out. But, the only thing I'm concerned about with that series is 3 lefty starters for the Angels are scheduled right now. And the Royals have struggled against lefties a little bit because they're guys who they are counting on. Velasquez, Renfroe, even Garrett Hampson in some ways. They haven't really hit lefties. And it's been... That's been a problem for them. So that it could be a good get-right series, though.
It could indeed. David, we always appreciate getting caught up with the Royals. Inside the Crown is the newsletter. Mondays are free. Check it out and then subscribe because that's what I do. And we look forward to the next time around.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thanks, Danny.
And we'll check out the rest of baseball coming up next and the rest of a very busy sports weekend, which I'll get into as far as how you folks out there have enough bandwidth to do all this stuff. All that coming up on Monday Musings, Danny and Friends Sports Wrap, presented by Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here at the 23rd Street Brewery with Matt Llewellyn. And Matt, you've got a great menu. You fine-tuned it a little bit. Great beers. There's always something to be had to put a smile on your face at the 23rd Street Brewery.
Oh, you bet. And Brian Haney would always say, come have the Haney turkey stack. Bill Self would say, come have the Bill Self pasta. I would say, come have the Bill Self pasta. It's great mac and cheese, buffalo mac and cheese. And we've got a ton of other menu items that you're sure to love. We've got a great brewer who's brewing great beer. And if you like craft beer, our guy's the way to go. And we're making great drinks, too. There's a great new distillery in the state of Kansas called Llewellyn Distillery. My brother's doing that. He makes some great whiskey and vodka and rum, and we're doing all kinds of great drinks with those beverages.
Always fun to be had at the 23rd Street Brewery, 23rd and Castle. Come on by anytime and have a good time. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business on Kansas City's #1 rated podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you.
Our thanks to David. Such good insights as Inside the Crown gives you all things from the Royals playing now to the Royals who are going to play in the future, as we talked about there. And lots of fun always. Lots of fun to talk about Major League Baseball after about a month or so. And there's a lot of fun stories, actually, and just a few miserable ones because there's a couple teams that are losing a whole bunch of games and everybody else is kind of doing okay or really good, like the Baltimore Orioles, who've won 7 of their last 10. They are 23-11 on the season. They hit the ball over the wall. They catch it very well. They've got a bunch of young players. Even if Holiday did not start off well. He got sent back to Jackson Holiday, gets sent back to the minors, but just about everybody else who puts on an Orioles uniform is doing the job these days, and they are in first in the American League East, but that takes some doing because the Yankees are playing good ball as well. Aaron Judge with a home run yesterday, and he has hit, I think it's 5 home runs in the first inning and 4 home runs in all the rest of the game so far this season, and the Yankees have won 3 in a row. The Red Sox keep hanging around. It's due to their pitching. They lead all the major leagues with a 2.6 ERA. Actually, if you're trotting around a 2.6 ERA, you probably should be doing better than 19 and 16 so far this year, but their offense hasn't been particularly good. Tampa Bay Rays are about 500. Their pitching has been devastated by injuries this year. Their offense is better than it usually is, but still, it's not fantastic to say the least. But they seemingly find a way. They won a walk-off game yesterday, and they are at about 500, and the Blue Jays just can't get their offense going at all. And when you look at the personnel, it's a little hard to figure out. Vlad Guerrero had himself a grand slam on Sunday, but they've only scored 128 runs this year in 35 games. That's just not going to get it done. They bring up the rear. The Central's been surprising. The Guardians keep on winning. They had a little bit of a flat spot, but have won their last couple of games, and they are trotting around with a 10 games over 500 record. Jose Ramirez starting to heat up, and that's bad news for opponents. He hit a home run on Sunday, and they lead the Twins by 2.5 games. Twins got beaten in a series over the weekend after they had won 12 consecutive games. I think they lost the last 2 after extending that, and they are at 19 and 14. And the Royals, despite just splitting their last 10 games against good opposition, are still a healthy 5 games over 500 and 2.5 back. Tigers keep fighting too. They got swept over the weekend, however, in Yankee Stadium, and they are at now 18 and 16. And the White Sox actually won a series. And one of those teams that's struggling is the cross-state team, the Cardinals. They dropped a series to the White Sox, who won only 8 games all year long. And they are dead last, .235 winning percentage, and only 8 wins on the season. But they were good enough to beat the Cardinals in a series. The West has been disappointing in many ways. The good story is the Oakland Athletics, who had won 8 of their last 9 before losing yesterday to get to the 500 mark, and nobody expected that, including their fans who show up in the hundreds. They have routinely crowds of 3,000 or so. Some of those young A's must not feel like they're even in the major leagues when they're playing at home, but they have shrugged that off and played pretty good baseball. But besides that, the Mariners, a handful of games over 500, they're in first. The Rangers, obviously, the team that beat the Royals over the weekend in the series, are a half game back, even though they have definitely not found their stride, and they've had quite a few injuries as well. I don't know, it's getting close to putting a fork in the Astros. They'd blow another game yesterday with their high-priced back of the bullpen, and Josh Hader's been terrible so far for them. They're 10 games over 500. They had won 5 of 6, but that only put them in within 8 games of the break-even point. He gets himself in the kind of hole they did, and it's tough climbing all the way back. The Angels have more problems than you can mention. Mike Trout is out for the long term. They don't have much else. The Royals will see them on the weekend, so it'll be a good time to catch the Angels for sure, and the Royals maybe can do some damage in that 4-game series that comes up after the 3-game set that we talked about with the Brewers coming up. Over in the National League, the Phillies have been slowly but surely, they've been good all along, but they got off to a terrible start 2 years ago, then won a bunch of games and made the playoffs and made it all the way to the World Series. Then last year, they got off to a not so great start either, but then they made it all the way to the National League Championship Series. And this year, they've gotten off to a great start. So they are 24-11. Their offense is going well. Their pitching is doing the job, and they basically have been a good, solid team. You've got to do that to be ahead of the Braves, which they are by 2.5 games. Atlanta really got off to a rollicking start. They have been cooled off a bit. They've lost 6 of their last 10. The Oakland A's of the National League are the Washington Nationals. They were expected to be awful and started off really terribly, but they won 7 of their last 10 for them to crawl to the 500 mark. The Mets have been a roller coaster team so far this year. Terrible start, then they got hot. Now they're cold again. Got swept over the weekend, and they are 2 games under 500. And